What's going on, everybody? Bingo here. I'm with the Duel Factory for episode 33 of X-2 Drop, our Yu-Gi-Oh podcast we do every Monday, talking about anything and everything in the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. And this week has been pretty light, with the exception of we got a ban list like a week and a half ago or whatever, and we got Chaos Impact coming up. So what we wanted to talk about is, how does Chaos Impact change the game as to where it's been, the past like 3 months? And our initial understanding was very little, because the set isn't very impactful, but we'll get into that in a little bit. We also had the Proplay Games Tour event last weekend, which kind of was the first major event of the season, or of the competitive format after the ban list. And it's looking like a fun format, but I don't know. I still got mixed thoughts about it. But Joe, your first thoughts on Chaos Impact as a set, what are they? Because I know what mine are.
Chaos Impact initially want from it, because I know a lot of people want the Hakai cards for some reason, because, True Draco hasn't been around forever. The only thing I want is Blue Tang, because I've been playing Marine Cess, but the rest of it's kind of like super unimpactful. Like, you have some interesting cards like Stryker Dragon that's coming out for Dragon Link. You have it's Star Lead something, the level 4 dragon that's really interesting and stuff like that. Other than maybe Blue Tang, that's like super meta defining. So it's just kind of like, it's almost as uneventful as the last set, but I don't want to say it's less than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's about 4 cards I can count that like will make a solid impact. I mean, there's a lot of neat cards in the set. I don't want to take away the value of those cards, because there's quite a few cards I want just to have them. Some of those being like the Tenyi Link monster. I kind of want to pick up the Unchained stuff, but not for what it's going to be going for. The new Gizmet card, like, it's definitely the weakest out of all the Gizmet cards, but I still want to have it. There's quite a few cards I want, but as far as meta impact, there's very little. I think that I would honestly say the most impactful card out of this set would actually be the Star Liege. What is the name of that thing?
All I know, it's the level 4 dragon that does cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a secret rare. Star Liege Seifert. That card's really good for like dragon combo decks. It's actually extremely good for those, but those decks aren't going to be too relevant. Yeah, they could kind of play around with Nibiru if their hand's gas enough, but
the big thing that you don't have with the Dragon Link decks is you don't have access to Argapane, which puts out a free monster. The only real way you can make anything without actually getting Nibiru is like making a Appaloosa first, which not every single hand can do that, but it damn near pretty close.
Yeah, and the issue I've seen watching combos for that is, if you make the Appaloosa first and your hand isn't like exceptional, it's going to really impact the end state of your actual board, because like you'll have like a 2 to 3 material Appaloosa on top of like one other monster. Now, if your hand's straight gas, you can make Saryuja, get your Thunder Engine online, make Hope Harbinger, but still, like, that's not the scariest board. And I know that's kind of weird saying Mistake, Hope Harbinger, and a double negate from Appaloosa isn't that scary, but like, that's just what we've come to expect.
It's not as scary as what we're used to at this point.
Yeah. So I think that card's going to be really good in the niche situations, but outside of that, like, there's no Sky Striker in this form, this set. There's no Orchestrated Nightmare that's going to take some rogue deck and put it to the top of the meta food chain, right?
Exactly.
But
now,
go ahead.
There's still decks that are playable, like even though like Mermaids and stuff like that's gone. Some of the Orcas variants are still very playable. They're just like 3-card combos now. So I mean, they're still there. Like Little White Orcas can still like do Orcas things, but like you said, they're like 3-card combos now. But yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
The big thing is those decks aren't going to be as prevalent as they were. So I mean, that's key.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have to invest a lot more cards to do those combos. Like, yes, Lunalight Orcas can still play Orcas cards, but they need to like rely on cards like Curious to send the Nightmare to grave, and just it's a lot more investment usually, because you could just do it off 2 cards before. Now you might need 3 or 4, and then your follow up is a lot weaker. And that's fine. It's just the issue of that deck used to be able to grind forever with little investment, so you would always have a follow up.
Yeah, your 2 card investments are now 3 card investments. You have a lot more choke points. The Curious is the biggest choke point because, like, and also like a lot of them aren't sending. You can't really. I mean, you can and you can't. You can't like send a floodgate off of Curious anymore and reset it off Griffin because of the lack of Mermaid. Because you can't just go into a free Nightmare combo after that point. So that makes it really tough too. But you also see the other decks like Thunder become more popular. Because, like I said, a lot of the deck's problems got powered down significantly, but pure Orcas is still going to be around. But I mean, that was inevitable because you still have the engine, but you have to play cards like Scrap Recycler and stuff like that now, which kind of like dilute the actual deck itself. But I mean, it's still a deck. That's the big thing.
Yeah. The biggest thing from the Proplay Tours event, obviously, these events are kind of strange because a lot of people like to just bring decks they like to these, especially since it was a new format. So there is going to be a lot more rogue representation in this top cut versus the first YCS, at least in my opinion. And that's fine, but it just shows that the format, the power ceiling of the decks available in the format is a lot lower than it was pre-ban list, where you had Mermaid and Argapane just kind of like making it unbearable for certain rogue decks. We saw Guru Control win the event. We saw pure Mech Knight in top cut. We saw Dino Shadal in there. There was a lot of just like miscellaneous decks, and I think that's great, especially right after a ban list, to be able to see that before the format just kind of shapes up into, you know, a triangle format like it always does.
Right. I mean, being able to see like such a diverse top cut's actually really like, it makes the game a lot more appealing, because now it's just not like everyone's just playing the same thing just to play the same thing, you know?
Yeah, and you definitely can make an argument to play a lot more decks. Like Dino Shadal is a deck that I always just like, I look at, I don't really want to play it, but I watched the guy's deck profile and it just seemed like super fun to play and just smash people in the face with Big Dick Johnson, aka Ultimate Conductor. And I don't know, the fact that he was able to make it to top 16 with a deck like that at a Pro Play Tour event, which is, you know, usually very competitive, makes me happy.
Yeah, it's one of the few Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments that play that you can actually play for cash prizing and stuff like that. So usually you see a lot of quote unquote pro players. You see it at like the highest level of competition, but they're not always playing meta decks, which makes it really interesting. And like right after a ban list, and you see all these people come out, like you're saying, the Dino Doll list was cool, the Mech Knight player was cool. Some people still playing Orca, some people playing the Lunalight Orca. Like it was refreshing to see something other than like 70% Orcas variants or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and then the rest is like Thunder and Stryker.
Which that's inevitable. People are going to play those decks even after the ban list, but
yeah, I said it, I think last week, where I firmly believe Sky Striker will top the next YCS, probably about one list, and then it's going to be Thunder, Orcas, and other in there, probably Pendulum, but it's more of the same. But just because it's the same doesn't mean it's not. The setting you're playing in is not different, because if I'm playing fucking Hand Trapped Invoked for all I know this format, like I feel like I'll still be able to play. I won't have to worry about getting Guard Dragon comboed to death because Agripane's gone, and that's just another form of negation I have to play through, or Orcus Crescendo on top of something else, you know. I don't have to worry about that. So playing Rogue right now it's a really good thing. You basically, if it's a semi-competitive deck, you can probably do relatively well with it, regardless of, what else is in the room.
I think the best takeaway from this whole ban list is that since Agripain's gone, you don't have stupid FTKs just popping up out anywhere. I think that's my favorite thing. Especially like when remember when we first got Orcapain and then Plant FTK came out?
Yeah.
Taking that card away and taking Mermaid away actually like really future-proof the game for like degenerate combos and stuff like that to come out, because like I really don't want to sit there and watch my opponent do like a 30-minute guard dragon combo with summoning Super Alloy Beast Raptinus because there's just broken Gemini monsters, but there was never a way to summon the dragon, but then we had one. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see that, and I can't tell you how thankful I am that that's not going to happen anymore. Now, I am really sad that I can't summon King Dragoon in my Blue Eyes deck anymore, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, and like Argapane's card design process was, it was super interesting, but the Yu-Gi-Oh community obviously wants to optimize everything to be the most competitive, and a interesting cool card can become overbearing and degenerate extremely quickly, and summoning any boss monster from your extra deck is just
only want the optimal gameplay here.
Yeah, it's just not okay. So going into this format, Joe, after seeing the lackluster set of Chaos Impact and the semi-shakeup from the ban list, because, I mean, like we said, it matters, but it didn't really change too much. Like, what are some decks you want to mess around with?
So my Queen Construct came back to 3. So, I'm going to make that deck work. I don't care what anyone says. It's super exciting.
So, like, pure Shaddoll, right?
Not pure Shaddoll. You can't really run Shaddoll pure. You have to run a subsidiary engine, but
obviously, but the main focus is Shaddoll.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because I can play the Queen again. What is it for this week for locals? No, we haven't actually played our locals at the time of recording this, but I'm playing the Perfamage engine in it, along with some other like interesting cards like Sky Striker and stuff like that, because now we have links like Alistair the Meltdown Invoker that can search a polymerization essentially. So it's really interesting. I'm excited to play it. And then there's a bunch of cool stuff, like the Shaddoll engine could be splashed in a lot of things, and like having multiple construct again actually just makes a huge difference. Because I was a firm advocate and stuff like that of the reason like Konami like banned construct to begin with is because construct does so many things in one card, it's insane. So, for example, it can clear any special summon monster. That's insane. Already you have a non-targeting clearing of monsters that deals that a lot of decks I can put up that construct can just get rid of, right?
Yeah, it's non-destructive as well, right?
Yeah, it's non-destructive. Construct also is another reason is it's also an engine starter. So for those of you who don't know, it's not when she just fusion summon, it's whenever she's just summoned in general. She can send any Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. That combos really well with cards like Shaddoll Squamata in the deck, because you now have a way to pseudo search your quick play spell. And what I mean by pseudo search is it sends it to the graveyard and then you add it back because the card's activated on a different chain. So now you have really scary plays, whereas back in the day, if you had 2 level 4s in a Shaddoll fusion, you could make Trapeze Magician in the construct, and then that's 8,100 damage. But then if one of those attacks got blocked, you could just, not instant fusion, but you could El Shaddoll fusion into another construct, which could send a core to add another spell back to give you another chance to OTK the following turn if you didn't kill him that turn. And you can still do that in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't necessarily play Trapeze Magician, but you have other cards to do that kind of stuff now. Like you have Alistair the Meltdown Invoker, which searches Invocation whenever you fusion summon. Also note that's not a card effect to disc. It's a card effect to discard, not a cost. So that triggers Shaddoll monsters, and then you get a free fusion out of that. Like there's some really crazy things the deck can do, but I think it's one of the decks that, because of how far the game has come from that point of the deck being such a monstrosity back in 2015, that I don't think it's going to be a tier 1 deck. But I do think it's a very powerful rogue deck that people need to keep in their mind. And you can't just freely summon extra deck monsters into a Shaddoll player knowing that they have 3 construct to back it up by 3 fusion. So I think that deck becomes really, really good and really, really powerful for this format. But I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, think it's going to be a tier 1.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a strong rogue deck. I think the Shadal engine, it just in general, has always been very powerful going second. Like, you get to activate Shadal Fusion, and you get to send so many cards to the graveyard just off of that one thing that there has to be something cool that you can do with that.
There's like, whenever you resolve a Shadal Fusion now, it's like 3 or 4 effects resolve, and that's insane.
Yeah. So that's what you're taking to our sneak peek tonight, right?
Yes.
All right. So decks that I want to play this format, I'm honestly struggling. It's really hard for me to just not play like Invoked every time there's a new format.
Just come to the dark side. We have cookies.
Yeah. But other decks I want to mess around with are Burning Abyss still, Necroz, and I mean, just so we're clear, Shrit to 3 wasn't a buff to Necroz. You should not play 3 of that card. Just so we're clear.
But I ordered 3 ultras. What am I supposed to do with my life?
I mean, I only have 2 ultras, but that's not the reason I'm not playing 3.
You're lying to me. I know you're lying to me. You know how I know you're lying to me? Because you're looking at your Necroz cards.
I don't know. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put a Necroz deck list together, and I'm going to play 3 Shrit and just say I'm testing it to see how I feel, but that's because, that's what YouTube people want. And they're like, why aren't you playing 3 Shrit?
You hear that, boys? That's the sound of a man giving into the dark side.
But Necroz, Burning Abyss, for the life of me, about every 4 days, I sit down and try to come together with some zoo list, but
just let the deck die. Just let it.
I can't. Stryker, I know that's kind of more meta side, but I still think the deck's very strong. And my locals deck of choice for a while is Dark Magician. I just can't stop. I don't know why.
Can't stop, won't stop. Hashtag don't at me.
Oh, somebody told me you saw my list, right? The one I played last week.
The very aesthetically pleasing Dark Magician list, yes.
Somebody was telling me I shouldn't play Allure, just Desires. I'm like, why would I not play Allure? I'm playing 9 normal summons in the deck.
Have they played Dark Magician?
I mean, pure Dark Magician, it is kind of hard to play Allure because your monster count's relatively low.
Bro, if I'm playing Dark Magician, I see what I have to work with. I'm 100% playing 3 Allure every time.
Yeah, I just think it was a misunderstanding of what Allure of Darkness actually accomplishes, which is sculpting your hand and just digging for your missing combo pieces. We're
not architects, John. We play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
We don't sculpt, we craft.
Tell that to a guy that resolved Saryuja 3 times.
Hey, I only did that one time. Stop it.
But I'm actually really excited because I can sit down and do well with anything, and I think this is looking to be it's a little preemptive, but it's looking to be a format where if you are a good player, you will be rewarded for being a good player. We've had quite a few formats in the past year or two where if you just weren't playing the right deck, you were going to lose most of the time.
It, in fact, be like that sometimes, kids. It, in fact, be like that sometimes. Don't let it discourage you, though. Do not let it discourage you.
Yeah, but like I was saying, this format is looking like if you can just understand your knowledge of the opponent's deck as well as what yours can do and how to counterplay and just maintain consciousness of the board state, so you're aware of everything, checking graveyard, Sky Striker, if you can just do all of that stuff, you can be rewarded versus just, they open Goki combo.
Yeah, we're not getting Goki comboed, and that's the best part about this. That's the best takeaway.
Yeah, just looking at the card pool. I'm no combo creator, right? I don't sit there in my workshop just how can I turn these 2 cards into 5 negates? I don't do that kind of stuff. But it's it's not looking like there's a degenerate combo, at least at the moment. But you never know.
Wait, so you don't sit in the workshop trying to do Goki combos?
No, I sit there in the workshop trying to, diagram pop Ram to do something.
But, what's the point of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! If we're not trying to let our opponent not play? Hashtag Douglas Finch 2019. Don't at me.
So, what do you think, Joe? I've been talking a lot.
I'm excited. We get a bunch of new cards. Mally the 3 was not okay. But
absolutely not.
As a hero player, I'm okay with it. I'm very excited to play that deck. I really hate that a Dusted Gold's like $80, and so is Evil Hero Malicious Bane, but whatever. Those cards are actually really good for the deck. You do some cool stuff, so I'm excited about that. My boy Stratos, the goated champion. He's at 3 now. Increases the ceiling and consistency of that deck. So that's really, really exciting. And then, I could go on for hours and hours and hours on stuff, but it's just like you said, Rogue looks a lot better. They got a bunch of new toys to play with. The format's not nearly as tuned up as I like to, as most people would say. It's just nice knowing that you can sit down and you're not going to play the most degenerate deck 9 rounds in a row if you go to a regional, 13 rounds if you go to a YCS and stuff like that. It's one of the few formats where you can sit down and you can legitimately say that, if you went to a 9-round regional or something like that, you might legitimately see 9 different decks, And the format, it's good and bad. Good because it's not going to get stale anytime soon, but bad because your side deck's going to have to get a lot more broad real quick.
Yeah, you're just going to have to play, cards like Phantasme that have a lot of overlap, Nibiru, and just high impact cards that have a lot of overlap. But yeah, there's not. You're not going to be worried about sitting down like we were 6 months ago, and they're like activate multi-roll, activate engage. It's not going to happen very often.
It's one of those things that I like to emphasize to players because there's a lot of people like me who like tier 0 formats, but the majority of the community, the consensus is they don't like tier 0 formats because 1, they're super expensive, and 2, you're just going to play the same thing on and on and on and on. So enjoy it while you can, because you never know when Konami's going to be like, hey, we're going to release this, and we're all just going to be sitting there wanting to blow our brains out.
Yeah. My biggest fear with this format is it's going to be a long format. It's about 3 months from the release or from the 14th of October until the next ban list. And that's a long time, especially with kind of light product releases in between here and then. I think the ban list is supposed to come out around the time of the next Legendary Duelist set, and then we get Ignition Assault in the same month.
Isn't that the next Legendary Duelist set, the one that has the Sweet Dark Magician card in it?
Yes, it has all of the Dark Magician support, and it's looking delicious.
Oh, there's another deck to think about while we're still on the topic. Look out for Spiral.
Spiral is awesome, man.
That deck's going to get insane again real fast.
Yeah, you got to be big brain to play it, though.
That's fine. Less big brains, less Spiral representation, but people are going to play it because it lets you do stupid stuff because of that new Dark Magician card.
Yeah, so anybody that doesn't know, it's you reveal it, Foolish 8, levels 7 or lower darks, or is it 6? I forget. 6 or higher, 7 or lower, whatever. It sends Master Plan to the deck as cost, and you special summon it. And then it has a draw effect that can be relevant, but it just gets Master Plan in the grave.
And then you get Master Plan without having to resolve your Helix, which is huge because a lot of the times when Helix doesn't resolve, you don't get a play. Now you get a play without having to resolve it, and that's just broken.
Yeah. But like I was saying, I feel like this format can I don't want to say get stale because it's not looking like there's going to be a triangle format, but it's going to get boring. And I know that sounds weird since we just got a ban list, but it's going to be, more or less the same. You're going to have the options. There's no new product coming out, and it's 3 months till the next list. It's very easy to get burnt out when nothing new or exciting is happening, at least in my opinion, right?
Right. You know what I think is going to happen, even though we didn't really talk. Who is ready to get blown up by Hakai cards? I am.
Oh, I totally forgot about those cards. Can we just talk about how that deck is going to be way more expensive than it needs to be?
Bro, you never know. Hakai could be the new wave, and we just don't know about it because we're not big brain in this game. But
loses to one hand trap. What are you talking about?
I'm trying to be optimistic here.
No. I don't know who designed the rarities for this set, but they're just all over the place. The Unchained Souls are cool. They're very like it's a cool mechanic. It's interesting. Some might say they're neat, but they're not good.
They pair really well with True Draco, and that's bad for the game.
Yeah. Okay. People always bitching about Sky Striker, like True Draco's been around since fucking 2017. Like, why is that deck still as strong as it is? It's it's been like always one fucking top cut slot in almost every event for the past 2 years.
I don't know. I know for a deck that gets a lot of shit talked about it, it's got a huge fan base.
I don't get why. Probably because it's not very hard to play.
Don't be that way.
I'm sorry. It's super difficult to play. The combos are very intricate.
Summon border, activate demise, path. That's real hard, guys.
You win games without even seeing your True Draco cards.
All right. I'll tell you what. I'll let you play True Draco this week, and I'll even get you the traffic cone that you put on your head.
The only variant of True Draco I played in the past year is True Draco Spellbook, and it was not like just Blue Boy Secrets of Knowledge. No, it was it was Fate, Star Hall, Grand Tower. Like, it was fun.
It wasn't a good deck. Sitting across the table from him and actually like it. I just want everyone listening to this know it just was not a good deck.
Hey, I went 2-2. All right.
Now it was aesthetically pleasing, like the Invoke Dark Magician list to look like. It was very aesthetically pleasing, but that was the only pleasing part about it. The other part of it,
Diagram pops Star Hall with 3 counters on it. Summon Jowgen.
That's not good. It's like when I was telling Doug, nobody good plays Waking the Dragon. No one good plays Star Hall.
It was fun.
Sorry, I had PTSD. Not bad.
But True Draco needs to die. Changed my mind.
I'm really mad that Diagram didn't get banned. I was really hoping for it.
I mean, like, why did Masterpiece and Dynamite go to 3? Quote True Draco players.
If Dynamite went to 3,
I'd rather deal with Masterpiece than 3 Dynamite.
I would scoop out of the pure principle at that point. Whenever I saw 3 Dynamite Night and I see a True Draco player, they're like, activate Diagram. I just scoop because I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. All right, so the next couple of months not looking too exciting for me, but what is your prediction for the best deck of the format?
To me, I think the best deck's still Orcas. It does everything the deck wants to do. Now, that being said, I don't think it's going to be the obnoxious representation that we've been seeing of the Orcas deck. I don't think it's going to be in every single deck, and I don't think it's going to be 70-80% of the field. I think when you look at Top Cut and stuff like that, it'll take up a majority 35-40%. But I think you'll see a lot more pieces to the puzzle there. Like, I think you're still going to see some Sky Striker decks because, people are still going to play it. Salamangrate's still very playable, but it has a hard time playing around the Rock, which the Rock's probably going to be the most popular side deck card. That's just my guess on side decks and stuff like that. Obviously, there's decks that can't play it.
Yeah.
You're still going to see True Draco for what other god reason.
Yep.
You're like stun decks like that. You're going to see I think you're going to see a rise in those just because they became a lot easier to play and they don't have as much stuff to play through. That being said, before the next list comes out, we have a whole nother set coming into it that gives us some new toys to play with. I think another thing to look out for is, like I said, we only mentioned it a couple times, but Blue Tang did come out from Marine Cess. So I think you're going to see Marine Cess engines become more popular, especially because that card does so much for the archetype.
Yeah,
like it's
Blue Tang is a very, very good card.
It's a Foolish Burial. It can potentially +1 by going to the graveyard. Like, it just does so much. So it's like, I think that deck's going to be really, really good coming up. I think it needs another wave of support or something better to mesh with it than the Paleo engine. But we'll see. But that's what I think the format's going to look like.
All right. I would agree. I think Orcas is going to be the number 1 deck, but we'll talk about that another day. We're running out of time. So, Joe, you got any final thoughts or like things you want to say?
Shadal's Master Race. Don't ever let anyone tell you different.
Get the fuck out of here.
just keep an open mind about the format. You never know what you're going to see. This is where you're going to see a lot of this is where like people are, if they're really good at sighting and stuff like that, you're going to see a lot of players like that start to shine, because games are always won and lost in the side deck. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. And now that we have a format that's going to be a lot more diverse, I think you really need to look out for that kind of stuff. And then I hate to say it, but Douglas French still has no sauce. So
I mean, that is true.
Piccolo, you have no sauce. Hey.
So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please check us out every week, same time, same place. iTunes, Google Play, 8 a.m. every Monday. YouTube, it goes up at 10 a.m. every Monday on youtube.com/bingohd and youtube.com/the Duel Factory. We're going to be posting a lot more regular content. I'm moving like 2 days from now, and I think Joe's moving sometime eventually. And once we're set up, I'm going to establish a regular schedule upload. But with that being said, guys, I'll see you guys back here next week.
okay, bye.